Look closely at your own financial behavior, and you will likely see a person pushing heavy stones up a crumbling hill. When you ignore the subconscious signals broadcasting from your own mind, you create a life governed by friction. Every dollar earned requires physical exertion, and yet wealth somehow keeps sliding backward. We operate under a cultural default of effort-based creation. We are taught that acquiring money is a linear, physical pursuit, that if you run fast enough and work hard enough, you will eventually catch up to the wealth you desire. But constant, desperate chasing has a biological cost. It generates a permanent baseline of low-grade dread. It is that tight knot in your solar plexus every time you check a bank account or think about retirement. This dread sets a specific baseline for your mental activity. It keeps you locked in a signal of not enough, which acts as a repellent. The harder you chase from this state of lack, the further your target moves away. This diagram compares two structural models of wealth acquisition. On the left, the straight line of traditional effort colliding with a barrier. On the right, the big money vortex. Sustainable wealth is rotational, not linear. By modulating the vibrational rate beneath the vortex, we see how your dominant thoughts dictate the rotational speed of your consciousness. When your attention shifts from the signal of lack to a frequency of calm abundance, the spiral rings tighten and the vortex begins to form. Following those small nodes on the outer edge, watch how a properly tuned mind generates centripetal force. These nodes represent external opportunities and resources. They catch the gravitational pull of the vortex and spiral inward with increasing velocity. You do not need to move toward money. If your psychological gravity is strong enough, the math requires money to come to you. Before this vortex acts on the external economy, it has to clear the hidden architecture of your mind. It starts in the inner world. The rotation first targets your conscious beliefs. The inherited ideas that wealth is scarce or that money is inherently difficult to come by are swept up and dismantled by the spin. Then it drops into the emotional layer. Here, financial shame and physical tightness live. The vortex unravels these deep emotional knots. Think of these emotions as energy trapped in a static pattern. When the vortex unravels a knot of fear, it releases that energy into the system. As shown in this engine model, that redirected force is what fuels the rotation, turning what was once a mental blockage into the very speed that powers your attraction. Your deepest financial fears are no longer obstacles. They become the exact fuel required to power your financial attraction. The rotation then drops past your emotions into the ultimate internal layer, your identity core. This is where the subconscious, cellular assumption of your own worth resides. For decades, you have worn an identity of struggle, but that identity is merely a costume, a temporary distortion imposed by years of inherited programming. The spin strips it away. At the core, a new anchor is installed, a stable, immovable understanding that states, "I am the center of a financial vortex." Wealth creation is a structural identity issue. Until your core operates as a gravitational center, your surface actions will continue to repel the very things you try to grasp. There is a counterintuitive rule governing this new structure. We call it the paradox of the I. This visualization demonstrates what happens when the central axis point adopts the urgency and panic of the outer world. It begins to vibrate erratically, and the entire rotational structure collapses. The vortex cannot survive a desperate center. Your only instruction is to maintain absolute mental stillness. You remain at peace, and you rely entirely on the physics of your new psychological gravity to do the heavy lifting. True financial power requires profound internal peace. The traditional panic of hustle culture is mathematically incompatible with an operational vortex. When you hold this relaxed state, the vortex autonomously pulls in wealth from channels you might never have considered. Surprising ideas, sudden business opportunities, and new relationships begin curving in your direction. Eventually, you hit the overflow threshold. This is the inevitable mathematical moment when the rotation pulls in far more abundance than any single individual's life can contain. You become a distribution center for abundance. The excess wealth effortlessly spills outward to elevate your family, your employees, and the causes that matter to you. Even now, invisible financial channels are forming in the background of your life, widening into rivers and waiting for you to fully activate your center. To master these mental activations, join the Reality Revolution community. You can find the link to our school group in the description below. And if you are ready to step into the life you were designed for, secure your early bird ticket to our 4-day advanced workshop in Maui, Hawaii, this May 14th through the 17th. True wealth creation is a structural reconfiguration of your internal gravity. It is a permanent change in how you occupy the financial field, accessible the moment you choose to stop chasing.